Hello and welcome to our podcast. Today we have with us Scott, and Scott is a huge Marvel fan and comic book fan in general. Scott, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yep, I'm Scott. I've been into Marvel since I possibly could read.
Wow.
Yeah, I've always been to comic books. I do favor Marvel over the others, although I do love all comics. I think they all have wonderful stories, and and when they started becoming on the screen, I know that in the 70s there were some TV shows. They were not done so
Mhm.
well, but there were some really good ones here. Like what really got me into it was uh, Bill Bixby's and Lou Ferrigno's Incredible Hulk that was on TV in the 70s
Okay.
and 80s. And so I would sit in front and watch every single day. I was like, I would not miss it. Save,
Oh,
you couldn't peel me away. So I've
right.
collected comics, I've collected little figurines and different things here, but I just enjoy everything about comics. I think it opens up a world of imagination and
Exactly.
and helps us to think about things that we've never really thought about, and to go to those places there. Science fiction and comics have led the way to invention and out of the box thinking. So I'm a real
Exactly.
proponent of those things.
Wonderful. And from your very young age, you have been reading the comics and everything. So when you see them on screen, have you been more or less happy with the versions that you've seen, or you've been like, oh no, it doesn't match my imagination?
I would say probably 85% love it. There have
Oh
been one
wow.
or two that I've kind of just been like, really, you know, um, to go to another genre is like I was really upset with Blue Beetle. Love Blue Beetle. I
Hmm.
thought that it was a little stereotypical, of things
Okay. Yeah.
that people kind of played on a little bit more of the ethnicity, and rather just the people and diving a little bit deeper into the characters themselves. Blue
Hmm.
Beetle is much more than being Hispanic, as many other things. Like one of the things I really loved was Miss Marvel, and they explored her culture, as
Yeah.
well as what it means to be a superhero. And so I like
Right.
when they go and dive deep into that and really because I always want to know how things go. Why?
Hmm.
What brought them to this moment? What was the situations? What were the decisions that they made that would allow us to become either a hero, a villain, an anti-hero, or something along
Hmm.
those lines there. And it really shapes the story there. And so learning about
Exactly.
them on a personal level, contributes to the overall story. And that's what I really love about Marvel is that they make a lot of real world comparisons to things here. You can really feel the characters. You can really understand what they go through. You can feel their pain. You can feel their
Yeah.
happiness. The comedy involved. It really just gets you sucked into the story, and that's what I love. I
Exactly.
love. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So I remember us talking about Deadpool and Wolverine even before it was going to come out.
Mhm.
We were talking about being excited to watch it. Like, so let me give a little bit of background about my connection with the comics and with Marvel. I'm from India, and
Mhm.
I wasn't really connected to the comic book culture back in India.
Wait.
I'm sure, yeah.
You're from India? I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Yes, and I'm back in India. I remember
Yes.
just a month back I was sitting there and you came to meet me before I left. But yeah, I'm
I'm
back in
coming over there
India.
someday. I'm gonna come over there someday, and we're gonna hang
Please,
out and we're gonna do this. Yes,
yeah, I will introduce you to our culture. But
please do.
with regards to comic book culture, I wasn't really familiar with that much. Although there are people who are familiar with the culture who have actually been able to go through these comic books at their young age, but I didn't. So I started
Mhm.
following it at a much older age. In fact, I think I started following after Marvel Studios, started with Iron Man, and then they had the series of movies, Marvel movies, you know. That's when I started
Hmm.
connecting with it, and then I would watch some videos. You know, I have some channels like Emergency Awesome that I would watch, and they would give me a little bit of
Hmm.
background about everything, right? So that's where I come
Yeah.
from. So for me, Deadpool and Wolverine was exciting because I followed all of the Wolverine movies from X-Men, you know, the movies that have come out when he did the X-Men series. And I've
Hmm.
seen both the Deadpool movies, and they were coming into Marvel. So I was super excited about that. And so that was my excitement, you know. It wasn't related to something in my young age or anything. So what was your reaction when you heard Deadpool and Wolverine are going to come together in a movie and into Marvel,
Well,
right?
I, so after I screamed at the top of my lungs like a little
Okay.
girl, and I was like, uh, I wanted to. I was ready. I was ready for it. I have enjoyed Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool in
Yes.
first one and the second one there. I think that the comedy is both where it needs to be there. He has researched this character through and through, and knowing that and Hugh Jackman, which was like one of my favorites ever since I watched the first X-Men. And
Yeah.
so, because when I like back in the day when I heard that they were making an X-Men movie, and we would think about who we were going who would we cast as each character here. And so
Yeah.
never heard of Hugh Jackman. They did an excellent job there. Always knew that Patrick Stewart, because I was a Star Trek fan, would be the perfect Professor Xavier. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yes. And so forth, and so this is to see something that you have imagined come to fruition on the screen here is just amazing. So I do think, and this is a discredit to the film industry here, is that the previews have gotten much more detailed that I think
Hmm.
is counterproductive to, in my opinion, is counterproductive to the actually enjoying the movie there. Because if you look too
Okay.
much, it's like, okay, I saw that part. Oh, this part's coming. Oh, this is, and I don't want
Yeah.
to be, so I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to have anything. I want to go into this with new, eyes, and everything. So I made sure that I didn't watch any of the previews. I
Oh,
didn't talk to
nice.
any of the people. I didn't watch any of the clips on social media. So even when I was watching other movies, the preview would come on, I'd close my eyes and I'd be like, oh la 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 la. And my wife and I both did that. I
Oh,
didn't want to
really?
have any.
Wow.
Yes, I made sure that when I went to see this movie, I knew nothing.
Wow.
Also, because I knew that it was going to be so long, I made sure I didn't have anything to drink that would cause me to jump up and go use the restroom because I was like not missing anything.
Nice.
So,
That's great. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, over the moon about this. I've been waiting for this for so long. I've read comics, and seen their interactions here. I thought that the story was really well done. I liked that they
Hmm.
bundled in other things, that they kind of opened it up. And sorry, we're gonna go ahead and say spoiler alert if you haven't seen this here,
Yes.
but we're opening up to other stories here. Where they touched on, it's like, well, why did I make Thor cry? Those types of things
Yeah.
there. It's just like, okay, so that means that there's something else coming. There's other,
Coming. Yeah.
you know, yeah. And the fact that other people in the Marvel universe have been so positively responsive to this here that they're
Hmm.
like, hey, I want to be a part of this here, even if it's just a
Yes.
cameo. It just makes it fun because Deadpool is fun. Deadpool is both tragic and fun at the same time,
Mm.
and and for me, it's the ability to say, look at my life and all the pitfalls, all the different things in my life, and be able to turn around and laugh at it. I mean,
Exactly.
life is hard. We all know life is hard, but
Right.
you could choose to either wallow in self-pity, or you could pick yourself up and kind of shrug your shoulders and say, wow, yeah, yeah, it really punch me in the crotch, and but I'm still here. I learned from it, and someday I'm going to laugh about it, and that's what Deadpool does. Deadpool says,
Exactly.
"Hey, I've been punched in the crotch so many times with life and different things here, but I'm still going to do the right thing. I'm still going to and I'm still going to laugh about it, and you brush
Exactly.
yourself off and continue on."
Absolutely. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
And wonderful teachings. And I like the way you looked at his character and your analysis about, how it helps us to overcome our difficult situations, right? So
Mhm.
wonderful analogy here. So coming into the movie, now that you went with that fresh mind, you didn't watch anything. What was your reaction to that first opening credit scene where you see Deadpool dancing to the
I
song?
literally laughed out loud, loud in the theater. My wife looked
Okay.
at me like I had just lost, like I had gone crazy, and she just like, and I'm just like howling so much. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like so great. I mean, total Deadpool style, total everything. I mean,
Absolutely.
it was beautifully crafted. I mean, it was. Listen, I have goosebumps right now, even when I'm thinking about it.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
That's how positive I responded to it. I was just like giddy, like a schoolgirl.
Wow, nice, great, great. And the way they start the movie also, right? I mean, they connected with the end of the Logan movie and
Mhm.
him trying to get the Logan character into their world, right? Like
Yeah.
Wolverine into their world. So, and the way he digs the grave and he just finds the skeleton. I think people were expecting some twist there, but all he gets is the remains of Wolverine, right?
Well, and that's the whole thing is that you get continuity. So, this picks up
Yes.
where Logan left off. You get
Yeah.
you get multiverse. So you have multiverse
Yeah.
mingling here. And then you realize that even though that Logan died here, that's not the end of Wolverine. There's so
Exactly.
many variations, so many flavors. It's like an
Right.
ice cream factory. There's different flavors, and which is
Absolutely.
also nice because that also uh that also gets people to hone in on what's their favorite. What do they like about Wolverine?
Yes.
Some people like
Mhm.
that he has invulnerability. Some people like that he's got the claws. Some people like that he's a loner. I mean, there's different aspects of Wolverine, and what
Exactly.
this also shows us going through the multiverse here is that not every Wolverine is the absolute same, cardboard cutout. Hey,
Yeah.
it's Wolverine here. It's the same thing over here. We found that out when we were watching Spider-Man.
Yeah.
No Way Home, or the third one there, and it was
Third one.
because
Yeah.
like, yeah, when they just took that one scene and they said, oh, here's your web cartridge fluid. Oh, here's this. He's like, no, I just make it, and then they're all like, whoa, you just make your own. It's like, yeah, doesn't everybody? It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's that type of stuff there, that because some people were actually upset that they're like, why is Spider-Man making his own fluid, web fluid here, and then they got into a whole anatomy type thing. I love that they jokingly addressed that there, with, oh, does it come out of your butt? And it's like, no, 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 no. Uh, but so some people that are more scientific are like, hey, I like the web fluid thing. Some people that just enjoy it for the fantasy part of it, or just like, yeah, he can just make his own and everything. That's so cool. Yeah. So getting back to this here, having different vi- uh, visions of what Wolverine of what my ideal Wolverine is. It This movie brought that in. I mean, Wolverine is very, very short in one
Yes.
comic. I mean, he's always very, and so the fact that there was a scene where the guy got off the stool and he was like 5 foot tall, you're just like, oh my gosh, you know.
Really?
Now, for my wife, and I've always been a Henry Cavill fan, and even before he was Superman, but to see the Cavalrine, I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, if Deadpool picks up Henry Cavill as Wolverine or something like that, that would be amazing because he that is, this one is great here. This is one that I grew up with, is Hugh Jackman's Wolverine here. But comic book wise, the Cavalry is really what I've always envisioned Wolverine to be. So the
Oh,
fact that they
okay.
placed him in there like that, He had the
Wow.
motorcycle. He's he doesn't take crap from no one. That was kind of along my lines there. And to see that, it was just like, I mean, when we watched it later, we watched it like 3 or 4 times already. But when we watched it
Yeah.
later, you know, my wife and I paused it because she loves Henry Cavill from being Henry
Okay.
Cavill. I love
Right,
the
right,
Henry
right.
Cavill character because for me he play his method of playing these characters here, whether it be Superman, whether it be The Witcher, whether it be the Cavalry, um, you know, he's it's just there. It's right. It's raw.
Exactly.
It's real talent, and so to see him in this here and knowing that that could be a possibility, you know,
Yes.
oh my gosh, I'm just like yes, yes, yes. But
Wow.
I will always forever want Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds envisions who my Deadpool is. I've watched, I've had Deadpool
Okay.
comics. I have different things. Yeah, he did it so well, and the fact that he made amends for the other version. He played a great Deadpool in that one movie there. But when they turned him into Deadpool, it was awful. And I was so disappointed. And the fact that Ryan Reynolds made amends for that, by
Oh,
taking him
yes.
out, it was just like, here's you got it. You got it. We're back in it,
Right,
yes,
right.
and everything else. Um, one of the things that, and I don't know if you're familiar with, is that many of the people that make these characters, these comic book
Mhm.
creators here, have worked in Marvel, have worked in DC, have worked in other comic books,
Oh,
and so you'll
okay.
see a lot of similarities. So while you have Deadpool here, there is a counterpart, and that could be a
Acha.
whole thing if you ever want to talk about is who are the DC counterparts of these Marvel characters and so forth. And
Wow.
so,
Okay.
and you'll be really surprised. Be like how similar these things are, and then it becomes a rush to market who embraces what and everything else. So, but
So
Ryan
who is
Reynolds,
the counterpart for Deadpool? I'm sorry to
um,
interrupt you.
Deathstroke. Deathstroke
Ah,
is
okay.
so Deathstroke has a whole thing. He's a mercenary,
Okay. Okay.
and he's very, very, but he doesn't have all the things that Deadpool does. But
Okay.
you'll see a lot of shared aspects, but it's different just enough. If you pull up a picture of Deathstroke, you're gonna be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, that's like Deadpool with just some different colors and stuff like that.
Oh,
But
nice.
he's got the
Okay.
swords, he's got the guns, everything like this. And so that's what one of the things is. So you take something um, that they both share here, and then there's Marvel nuances, and then there's DC nuances here, and then they craft
Wow.
those characters and those stories from that. But
Nice.
so, but anyway, yeah. So I mean, they always relate Batman back to Iron Man. Very different, but the premise is,
Yeah.
both people have gadgets, both people have rich, dark stories,
Right,
background,
right.
parents and stuff like that. So, but there are different counterparts there. But anyway, getting back to the movie itself
Yeah.
here, um, what I loved about this was that they were able to play into so many lost variations and lost characters. Um, and it just caused me to be a kid again. I mean, the fact that
Right.
they had the original Pyro in there and the original the guy who played Sabretooth from the X-Men movies here. They brought in Chris Evans, as Johnny Storm instead of
Did
Captain
you expect
America.
that?
I did not. I was like, oh my gosh, here it goes,
Okay.
here it goes. And then he goes,
Did
and
you
I'm like,
also think
oh.
like Deadpool thinks that he's going to now say a Captain America dialogue instead he, you know, changes it
Yeah,
completely?
yeah. He changed
Avengers assemble, he thinks, and
and then he goes, flame on, and I'm like, oh my god, it's Johnny Storm. Because
right,
you kind of say, okay, like, if you see Hugh Jackman here, you always think Wolverine, depending on how you grow. You don't think, all this time in the theater. You don't think of, The
right,
Greatest Showman or Les Miserables. You think of this, and so,
Wolverine, yeah,
uh, it, I mean, and so one of the things is, I love that they that these actors take these characters here and make them their own. People take their characters that they're known for, and then they can play off them and make them
yeah,
humorous in many many ways. There, um,
exactly.
one of the things is that many people don't know, and was, you had, is that you're tied to cable, in number two here, and then uh, you also know that he plays Thanos, and so
Right.
being that you know Thanos, and Thanos was a big competition for Deadpool because they were both in love with Lady Death. The whole thing
Oh,
that you don't know
okay.
is that the whole thing was with getting the gauntlet was because you know he wanted to be powerful and he wanted to be part of and so there's a whole Lady Death uh
Oh,
timeline and storyline there, and how they were rivals for their affection. So being able
oh,
to see a character that played Cable here, and I think there's probably some little nuances, in there that ties the Cable character back to Thanos because of the actor here. Those little things there, I probably have to
right.
watch it a couple more times. There's so many things. Um, but they've taken those liberties there. I think that they did really, really well. They created some new things in the movie here that cause us to explore different things, and that's what
Yeah.
it is. Is that what I liked about the movies and the comics is that peek inside the what ifs. Marvel's even got their
Yes.
show What If,
See,
you
yeah.
know, and that gives us a peek behind the curtain that says, hey, what happens if we went left instead of right? What happens if we
Right.
said yes instead of no? You know, these things cause ripple effects.
Absolutely.
Multiverse mechanics and theology, theoretical is that every decision we are posed with, we make a decision here, and then a timeline is created to for the opposite decision. So
Okay.
is in essence we are split. Our consciousness
Exactly.
only knows what we've decided, yes, but there is another road that's a little bit darker that says, well, this is what happens. I said no on this here, but now there's a yes road here. How does that
Mhm.
unravel? How does that, and
Exactly.
those types of things, and that's what the whole timeline there happens.